Hello, and welcome to the My Heart and Mind podcast, where it's all about creating the feel-good mindset so you can make the most of every moment and reap the benefits of getting the most happiness out of life. And now, over to your host, Sally Crawley.
If you've had a heart attack, heart surgery, or a cardiac arrest, or your life has been changed by a cardiac diagnosis, this space is for you. This podcast is about more than surviving. It's about gently rebuilding trust in your body, steadying your mind, and learning how to live well again, even with everything you've been through. Together, we'll explore the emotional side of heart recovery, the fear, the fatigue, the what-ifs, and how to work with your thoughts, feelings, and nervous system so you can make the necessary lifestyle changes, feel calmer, stronger, and more like yourself again. Take a breath. You're safe here. Hello, my hearty friends. I'm recording this episode in February 2026, and I'm so fed up with the amount of rain that we're having in the UK. I'm definitely looking forward to some sunnier and warmer weather. But us Brits can't always be guaranteed of fine weather. And after all I've been through the last 18 months, I have my mind set on booking my holiday to Bali. It's not always been easy for me to think about travelling abroad like I used to. That said, I've never really enjoyed leaving home, no matter how wonderful the place is that I'm visiting. But it certainly was something I didn't pay much thought to. I still remember the first time I even thought about going on holiday after my heart attack. I was sitting at home, scrolling through photos of beaches and city breaks, and instead of excitement, I felt a very heavy, tight knot in my stomach. It wasn't the destination that was scaring me. It wasn't the leaving home. It was the journey. It was the airports. It was the flights. It was the what-ifs. What if my heart couldn't cope? What if something happened mid-air? What if I wasn't as recovered as I thought? If you're listening to this and nodding along, please know this. You're not alone. That fear is real and it's valid. I felt it too. And yet here I am, someone who's lived through a heart attack, telling you that travelling again is possible, and even telling you about my trip to Bali this year with my friend. I'm not expecting you to ignore your fears, but I'm hoping that by preparing and pacing yourself and treating your heart with the kindness it deserves, you'll feel the fear less and look forward to travelling again. So let's walk through this together, gently and honestly. I'll be honest, the first time I brought up travel with my doctor, I felt a bit silly. I thought they'd laugh and say, "You on a plane? Absolutely not." But they didn't. They listened, they asked questions, they explained what they needed to check before giving me the green light. And that's the first thing I want to share with you. Don't book anything until you've spoken to your doctor or your cardiologist. Not because you're fragile, not because you're incapable, but because your heart deserves a proper safety check. Your doctor can help you understand whether your heart is stable enough for travel, what symptoms to watch for, whether flying is appropriate for you right now, what activities you might need to pace yourself with, and whether you need any documentation or summaries for travel. And if you live with COPD like I do, the conversation becomes even more important. COPD can affect how your lungs handle the cabin pressure, humidity, and long periods of sitting. Think of your appointment with your doctor as a passport check, the one that really matters. When I first started planning, I realised something. I wasn't choosing a holiday for the old me. I was choosing one for the new me, the one who'd been through something big and needed a little bit of gentleness. So I started small. But here's what I learned. Heat can be hard on the heart. Very hot climates can make your heart work harder. I once thought a breezy beach would be fine, but even mild heat left me feeling more tired than expected at first. Shade, hydration, and slow afternoons became my best friends in the early days of holidaying. Cold can be tricky too. Cold weather can tighten blood vessels and trigger symptoms in some people. If you're dreaming of skiing or a snowy landscape, talk to your doctor first. And again, altitude matters. High altitudes have thinner air, which can make you breathless more quickly. If you've had a heart attack or heart surgery, it's usually safer to stay below 2,000 metres, that's about 6,500 feet, unless your doctor says otherwise. And remember what I said about COPD and the oxygen levels. Wherever you go, check the medical access. This isn't about fear, it's about peace of mind. Knowing where the nearest hospital or pharmacy is, save the local emergency number in your phone. Think of it a bit like packing an umbrella. You hope you won't need it, unless you're in the UK, but it's comforting to have. I won't lie, the idea of flying again did terrify me. Airports felt overwhelming and the thought of being in the air made my heart race. But flying is something that many people do with heart conditions safely every day. I found that by booking a short flight first, built my confidence. Here's what's helped me. It's my experiences and information that I've learnt from others. A simple rule that some doctors use as a rough guide is if you can climb 2 flights of stairs without symptoms, you may be fit to fly. Now, the emphasis is on the word may there. It's really important. It is only a rough idea, and it's your doctor's assessment that really matters. So as I said, short haul flights, these can be a great first step. Less time in the air, less sitting still, and usually less stress. Long haul flights though, like my trip to Bali, these require more planning, especially because of the DVT, deep vein thrombosis risk. Long periods of sitting can increase the risk of blood clots. General travel advice often includes moving your legs regularly, even sitting in your seat and moving your feet up and down as if you were walking on the spot. Walking around the cabin when it's safe to do so. Staying hydrated. Wearing loose clothing. And I always use compression stockings, even on short flights. I've now got some fancy colourful ones, and one pair has an ECG pattern on them. These are general tips. Your doctor can tell you what's appropriate for you. Do remember, if you have COPD, you may need oxygen arranged through the airlines. But again, this is something your doctor can assess and help you plan for. Also, if you have a pacemaker or an ICD, you can show your device card and ask for a hand check through security. The staff are used to it, and you won't be the first or the last to ask. Okay, so let's get to the packing bit. Your heart's travel kit. I'm never the best at packing, and I always have a list. And I mean, I'm talking about my clothes, my everything. I just can't trust myself not to forget something. So when I did my first travel after my heart attack, I included all of the things that I thought I might need in that list. I print it out every time I'm travelling, and I go through it and methodically tick each item off. But I was surprised at how much there actually was that I needed to do to take care of my heart while I was travelling. And these are some of my tips that I'd suggest for you. Make sure you take enough medication for the whole trip and some extra ones. And always take your medication in the boxes that they come in. Unfortunately, it does take up quite a lot of room, especially if, like me, you take quite a few medicines. But it is always preferred in certain countries. So like when I'm going to Bali, everything has to be boxed, and I also have to have a letter from my GP. Make sure that all your medications are in your hand luggage. There's nothing worse than getting separated from your medication if your suitcase goes missing. Make sure you've got a written list of your medications, brand and generic names. If travelling somewhere non-English speaking, a translated medication list is also helpful. A summary letter from your doctor if it's required for the country that you're travelling to, and any device ID cards such as pacemakers, ICDs, and if you need one about having stents. Don't forget any advanced care directives like DNR or no CPR instructions. If you have them, take a copy with you and preferably translated again if needed. If you have COPD, you might also need to bring oxygen documentation if your airline requires it. But It sounds like an awful lot, doesn't it? But once you've done it once, it becomes second nature. And if you're like me, then you'll just add it to your packing list so that you never forget. Now, this is absolutely essential, travel insurance. It's a non-negotiable, and yes, it can be more complicated after a heart event or surgery, but it is absolutely possible. It's always best to shop around. Using comparison websites can be really useful as your first step in identifying what might be the most cost effective. And wherever you live, the US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand or the UK, the key is the same. Declare everything honestly. Look for insurers who cover pre-existing conditions. Read the fine print carefully and take your insurance out the moment you've booked your holiday. You're then covered for anything that happens that means that you have to cancel your trip. And I know this can happen because many, many years ago I had a broken ankle and it turned out I had a malunion. I had booked to go to China to visit my brother and his wife, but unfortunately, because of the malunion, I wasn't allowed to travel, so I had to cancel my flight, and luckily I managed to get my money back. So that's a word from the wise there. Also, if you're travelling from the UK and you're travelling in Europe, there's a GHIC card that can help with state-provided emergency care, but it does not replace insurance. So what about once you're there and you're on holiday? So this is the time that you need to be listening to your heart. The first time I went away after my heart attack, I expected to feel fragile. But what surprised me was how alive I felt once I slowed down enough to notice it. Here's what helped me enjoy the holiday instead of worrying throughout it. Keep drinking plenty of water. Taking breaks if I needed to without guilt. Walking at a gentler, slower pace. Making sure that I avoided the hottest part of the day. Paying attention to how my body felt. Resting when I needed it. So make sure that you're pacing yourself. And I found it was so much better if I avoided smoky or polluted areas. It certainly helped me feel like I was doing well. Now, as I said, I'm in the UK, but I'm sure that things can be very different in different countries. So here's just a few notes that I'd like to share with you. But do bear in mind that these can change at any time, and I'm not an expert. So if you're travelling from the UK, GHIC helps in Europe but doesn't replace insurance. Some airlines ask for a fit to fly letter after recent heart attacks. If you're travelling from the US or Canada, medical care abroad can be expensive, so insurance is essential. Some insurers specialise in cardiac or chronic conditions. If you're travelling from Australia or New Zealand, some destinations have reciprocal healthcare agreements, but these vary. Always check whether your destination is covered. So, let's just recap a little bit. Here's a simple list. If you're planning to travel for the first time after a heart event, heart surgery, cardiac arrest, then talk to your doctor. Choose a heart-friendly destination. Plan your flights with care. Pack all your medications and documents, always in your hand luggage. Arrange travel insurance. Stay hydrated. Pace yourself. Listen to your body and give yourself permission to enjoy the moment. So from one heart survivor to another. If you're scared, I get it. If you're hesitant, I've been there. If you're wondering whether you'll ever feel normal again, I've asked myself the same thing. But here's what I've learned. Travelling again isn't just about seeing new places. It's about reclaiming a part of yourself that felt lost. It's about proving, gently and patiently, that your life didn't end with your heart event. You're still here, your heart is still beating, and the world is still waiting for you. So when you're ready, truly ready, take that step. Not because you're fearless, but because you're brave enough to go anyway. And trust me, the first sunset in a new place feels very different. It feels like hope. So on that note of hope, that's it from me today. I'm off to sort out some dates for my Bali trip, so they're fixed in my calendar and I have something to look forward to. And it leaves me just to say, you are loved more than you'll ever know. You're admired by more people than you'd ever expect. You're worthy of joy and happiness. You are enough. Until next time, take care of your heart and mind. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye. And as we say goodbye, a quick but important reminder. This podcast is intended to support and complement your medical care. It is not a replacement. I'm not providing medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. If you have any concerns about your heart, your health, or any other symptoms that you're experiencing, please seek the advice from your GP, cardiologist, or emergency services immediately. Always listen to your body and always follow the guidance of your healthcare team.